you that don't know it, tomorrow is actually the first day of the new year in China. And because it's the first day of the new year, you know what? Did you know that it's not 2008? It's actually 4,705. That's what the Chinese will tell you, or 6 depending on where you count from. There's a lot of things about China that probably a lot of you all don't know, and a lot of things that you learn through the stories that they tell. I'm a storyteller, and when I tell stories, I learn about the culture that I am telling the stories about. When you learn stories, you learn a lot about that kind of person and that culture. And that's really important because it always helps us to understand why somebody thinks the way they do. And stories help us do that. I'd like to tell you about, I see a lot of people with red, and I'd like to explain to you why we wear red on the Chinese New Year, and why all of those firecrackers go off. They invented fireworks. And this happened long, about 2,000 years ago. And there was a monster, a great big monster, great big green monster with red dots and great big gold eyes that pulsated gold and green. And he had long, sharp teeth. Now, most of the time, he stayed down at the bottom of the ocean where he slept. There was only one time during the year that he came up. It was the last night of the year. Now, on the last night of the year when he woke up, because he hadn't eaten in a long time, he was very, very, very hungry. And he wanted something to eat. He usually just about ate everything he could find. But his very favorite food of all was people. The people in the village on the shore where the monster came out. Now, the people knew this, and they didn't want to get eaten. So what they would do is they would spend all the last day of the year getting all their things ready, packed up. They'd harvest all of their food, they'd pack all their clothes and anything else that they would need, and they would take all of their belongings up to the mountains where they would wait until the monster had gotten up, looked around the village, and then gone back to sleep in the ocean. They would spend a long time getting all of this ready and then heading for the mountains so they would not be eaten. Well, one time, when they were getting all ready and they were all packing up, everybody was in a hurry and they were shuffling all over, and there was this man that came through the village, and he had a cane, and he was walking, he was lame. He had matted hair, he was dirty, his clothes were kind of tattered, and he didn't smell too good. The people, they saw him and they were bumping into him, and he was asking for some food. He was very hungry. But the people, because they were in such a hurry to leave the town, they had forgotten their manners, and they had forgotten about caring for each other. And they didn't pay much attention to him. They said, "Shoo, old man, go away, we're busy." Now, there was one old woman in that village, and her son had been gobbled up by the monster the year before. Well, she really missed her son. She didn't even think it was worth living anymore. So what she decided to do was that she was not going to stay. She was not going to leave the village. She was going to stay right where she was, and she was just going to allow the monster to eat her too. It wasn't worth living without her son. Well, she saw this old man being pushed and shoved around, so she said, "Come here, old man. I'll take care of you. Would you like some warm dumplings?" He said he would. And so she took him into the house, and she fed him some food. And as they were eating, he said, "What is all of this running around and shuffling and hurrying about? Why is everyone leaving?" And the old woman told her about the monster that was going to come that night. And she told him about how she had lost her son and how she was planning to die that night when the monster came. And he said, "Oh, there's no need to do that. You don't need to worry about that monster. I'll take care of him." He said, "First I need some red pieces of paper, and I need a big red piece of cloth." And the old woman had both, and so she gave them to him. He took the red paper and he put it on either side of the doorway, pasted it there. And then he took that red piece of cloth, and he put it around him and tied it kind of like a cloak, almost like Superman or something. And then he walked with his cane all the way out to the ocean, down to the shore. And there he sat and he waited. But he didn't have to wait long because the sun was going down. And as soon as it got to be dark, that monster awoke. He came up from the bottom of the ocean, and he was hungry. He looked around and he saw a whole school of fish going by, and he gobbled them all up. And then he saw some turtles, and he put the gobble on them. Snap, crackle, pop. And then he saw 2 sharks. Dun, 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 dun. But he didn't get scared. He went right for them and snapped them down. Then he knew what he wanted next. Those tasty morsels of people. Ooh, he just liked to pop them in his mouth like you might pop chicken nuggets in your mouth. And he started going towards that village. And you could see in the ocean the bubbles coming up, and then the ripples, and then the waves, and it got bigger and bigger as he came to shore. And that old man stood his ground watching that monster come out. And when that monster got really close,